What's going on, Falcon fan? This your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today, guys, we're going to talk about what we heard from our head coach and our general manager at the NFL Combine for 2025. Got about 4 or 5 topics I'm going to touch base with you. Of course, the most interesting topic is about our backup quarterback as it stands today, Kirk Cousins. Talk a little bit about Kyle Pitts. Also, talk about the Atlanta Falcons, the plan that we heard from the media and from what, like I said, what our general manager and our head coach had to say today. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. Please hit the notification bell so you're not dropping another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys out here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come here and talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So Philip Crawford says, sounds like Pitts and Kirk Cousins is staying. Definitely going to get into that right now. So first of all, we're going to talk about Kirk Cousins, right? We heard today we heard from the general manager, Terry Fontenot. Let's go back to Christmas time. Not Christmas, actually, where the Super Bowl and Kirk Cousins talked about he had elbow and shoulders pain, and that's what really started the downward spiral of his play, which led to Michael Penix actually being named the starter. Right? Um, you can see that the Atlanta Falcons coach and general manager really did not like what he had to say, and you kind of see they was kind of taken back by Terry Fontenot. Make sure he wanted to specifically say he was not injured. That was not reason he got benched. He was not injured. He was remember, if you guys can recall, he was on the injury report that week after the New Orleans Saints game, right? But then he was taken off. He came to the podium and he said he was fine, right? That's what he said. Words out his mouth, right? So unless they couldn't tell, unless they were just hiding it, whatever we want to say. Like I said, I really don't like to talk about conspiracies. I just know what they say, right? So basically, Kirk Cousins said he wasn't injured, right? They seemed like they didn't know it. So did Kirk Cousins lie about it? I guess that's where it boils down to. All right. Anyway, you fast forward to today, and we heard Terry Fontenot basically say that they're fine with Kirk Cousins being the backup quarterback, right? The thing about Kirk Cousins is, if you know the kind of person he is, he's not going to cause any drama in the locker room because that's not his personality, right? Is he going to be happy to be a backup quarterback? No, of course not, right? I 100% believe that Kirk Cousins wants to play, be a starter again somewhere in this league, but so he does not want to be a backup. But I don't think it's going to cause issues in the locker room because that's not his personality. That's not who he is. I think he's going to be the ultimate professional. He's going to be a leader, right? That's what he want to be, right? So for me, I agree with the Atlanta Falcons philosophy of not letting Kirk Cousins go, right? And the reason I feel this way, and I get it, because everybody looking at the dollars and cents, does not matter about the dollars and cents because that money is already gone. The Atlanta Falcons will not save any money at all. They will not save any money at all cutting Kirk Cousins, right? $65 million cap hit if they cut him, right? Now, start new league year, yes, he'll be owed $10 million for 2026, right? But they only owe him $27 million this year. So you add that 27 plus that 10 million, that's $37 million they owe to Kirk Cousins. So if I ask you, if you have an opportunity to keep a guy that's that's not probably not going to cause any issues in the locker room, yes, he's going to be butthurt. I get it, right? He's not going to cause any issues in the locker room. He's going to probably be a benefit to the team because his professionalism, right? And he's probably going to help Michael Penix out. Not ideal situation because the salaries are flipped between the backup and the starter, but $37 million that you owe pretty much regardless, right? Or that $65 million cap hit that you're going to get. and you lose him for nothing. Or you play hardball, but since he has a no trade clause, his desire is to start somewhere. He can work with a team. He can work with a team to try to get a trade. Now, Atlanta Falcons don't have to say to tell the team that they're gonna pay. They got to pay, his whole salary. The Atlanta Falcons can pay some of that salary because they already guaranteed to pay it anyway. But they should be wanting to recoup some kind of draft capital back from a team. So Kirk Cousins, if he wants to be a starter, right, go out and find a partner that you want to partner with, another team, and have them work with Atlanta Falcons to try to recoup some cap. Or you stay a backup quarterback and help Michael Penix out. It's a sunk cost. So Kerry Fontenot continually said that they're going to do what's best for the Atlanta Falcons. And in my opinion, what's best for the Atlanta Falcons is try to get something out that massive $100 million contract that you guarantee him, where he didn't live up his end of the bargain, right? It was decided that he was going to play the entire season. He the one had the terrible middle of the stretch of the season. If he was hurt, maybe he should have said he was hurt. It would have made it. It would have gave everybody, a reason why we saw the downward spiral that he had. But he did not say anything, right? He waited until end of the season to the Super Bowl weekend to say that he was injured, and everybody got caught off guard. And in my opinion, I believe the general manager and the head coach did too. I know people say, well, they could have seen that he couldn't throw the ball strong anymore like that. If he's telling you he's fine, right? He's your starter. You're gonna believe him, right? He was not on an injury report, so it makes it seem like the Atlanta Falcons was trying to cover up not having him on an injury report. For what reason would they have to do that? I just believe that he didn't tell the truth. I think he was putting himself out there. I think he was injured. I think he was putting himself out there. He told him he was good. That's why he got taken off the injury report the next day. And then he got in front of the media and told everybody he was fine. That was maintenance. That's what he said, right? Go back and look at the interview that week right after the Saints game, right? So he thought he was looking over his shoulder. He saw Michael Penix, and he decided to not come out the game, even though he probably was feeling some type of way, elbow, shoulder, whatever he said. So I believe that the Atlanta Falcons should keep Kirk Cousins. I know it's an unpopular decision because people like, you're going to keep somebody that's making that much money as your backup. Well, they already owe him anyway. They already owe him the money. Only thing that they would have to gain is the $10 million that they won't have to pay him before the new league year, right? So they release him. They won't have to pay him that $10 million, right? But then they still have a $65 million debt cap, and they won't get no assets, for releasing him. Then he feel free, still get paid his $27 million this year, right, from the Atlanta Falcons, and then he can go somewhere else and sign for another team for a league minimum, and the Atlanta Falcons is going to be paying his salary. I don't like that. I think Atlanta Falcons need to get something out of it, right? And everybody's saying that they did him wrong and all that. They gave the guy $100 million guaranteed, so they did not do him wrong, right? He got paid $100 million guaranteed, right? Yes, he's want to be a starter. 5 games he played like shit. So I'm just saying, like, the Atlanta Falcons need to do what's right for the organization. I agree with Terry Fontenot 100%. Try to get something out of it, and I do believe if he stays, he will not be a cancer in the locker room, because that's not who he is. We've seen his personality. He's a God-fearing guy. He's a family man. He got 2 kids. He's not going to make waves. Yes, he's not going to be happy with the situation. I understand that. But that's why I think it's up to him and his agent to try to make moves, because the Atlanta Falcons going to have to pay the bill anyway. But Atlanta Falcons should be wanting to get some kind of return out of it. So I agree with the Atlanta Falcons. Stand strong. Do not release Kirk Cousins. Don't matter what the pressure they get from the media talking about the cap and all that crap. Doesn't matter. You already owe the money anyway. If you release him, you still got to pay the money. So stand pat. Do not release Kirk Cousins. That's the way I feel about it. So I agree with Terry Fontenot. Raheem Morris didn't even really want to talk about Kirk Cousins at all, right? He did not want to talk about Kirk Cousins. All right. He went out his way to say Michael Penix is the starter for this team. He believed in him and they're moving forward. Right. I think he really did not like what transpired on Super Bowl weekend, and he didn't want to talk about it. Just the bottom line, he did not want to talk about it. So for me, I think the Atlanta Falcons need to stand strong, right? Um, you got a good relationship with Kurt. You got a good relationship with his agent. Try to work something out behind the scenes. That's one thing I like about the Atlanta Falcons. They do not put all the business, out in the media and things like that. Even though Kurt did during Super Bowl weekend, but for the most part, they keep everything behind closed doors, right? If they can work out a plan, try to find Kurt somewhere he want to go. There's some quarterback needy teams out there, and I know the Atlanta Falcons are willing to work with those teams if they can get some kind of capital back. That's what I feel like. Um, so it's up to Kirk. Since he has the no trade clause, it's up to him to try to initiate something with another team. That's what I think. And if not, be the backup. We have a good solid backup. Yes, the money looked crazy on the roster, but they had to pay that money anyway. So that's the way I look at it. Philip Croft said, "I'm glad they're keeping him. It would make him waive him with no trade clause, make him sit or make him waive." Yeah, for me, I just think it's Atlanta Falcons that gain nothing for cutting him. And like I said, now if he was somebody that was gonna cause like dissension in the locker room or something like that, or be somebody that's going to disrupt the locker room, not willing to help Kurt, like Marcus Mariota did, right? Think about what he did when Desmond Ridder was named the starter. Marcus Mariota decided to go ahead and get surgery on his knee, right? So he wouldn't have to be there, right? Kirk Cousins is not going to do anything like that. Yes, he's going to be upset. I understand, and he should be, because if he feel like he still want to be a star in this league, right? And then feel like the Atlanta Falcons holding him hostage, right? If he's not going to have an opportunity to compete, but at the same time, right? They paid you $100 million guarantee, and they didn't tell you that Michael Penix was going to start over you. Your play determined that. His play determined that. So it's not like he was playing well and they decided to put the rookie in over him. No, he played bad for 5 straight games, and that's when they made the decision, right? So he did it to himself. That's the way I feel about it. They paid him $100 million guaranteed, especially if they give him this $10 million here in the new league year. So that's why I feel about Kirk Cousins. Definitely want to hear you guys' opinion. I know a lot of people have different opinions about this. I hear the national media saying that there's no way Kirk Cousins is going to be on the roster, start training camp, because that just looked crazy. But we already seen Atlanta Falcons do crazy, right? They signed a quarterback 4 years, $108 million. Then 3 months later, they go in the draft and they get a quarterback at number 8. So don't say they won't do it, because they already did it. So, yes, they're not being traditional. They're gonna buck the trend. But in my opinion, if they can get a 6th-round pick for Kirk Cousins, try to at least get a 6th-round pick. You want to get something out of it, right? I'm not saying try to get 3rd, 4th, 3rd or 2nd-round pick for Kirk Cousins. No. And what I'm not saying, you don't want a team to take your whole salary, because they're not going to do that either. So you're not even asking a team to take Kirk Cousins' whole salary. But, right, take $12 million of it. And the Atlanta Falcons be on the bill for $15 million. Right? Work something out like that and get something out of it. 6th-round pick, it's not ideal, but at least you got something out the deal that you already paid the guy $100 million guaranteed. That's just the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it. All right. The other guy that was mentioned today was Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, right? And we know everything about Kyle Pitts. So let me say this about Kyle Pitts, right? Most people try to say he had a bad season. And in reality, Kyle Pitts did not have a bad season, right? If you look at where he was drafted at number 4 overall, and you want him to live up to that, that's where you start to get disappointed, right? That's where we have to start getting disappointed in what Kyle Pitts bring to the table, right? Because now you're paying a guy $10 million, right, and he's not giving you that fourth overall value that you had. So that's where I think, as Falcon fans, we need to take a step back because Kyle Pitts was not the first option. I don't even think Kyle Pitts was the second option. In some cases, he was not even the third option on the team. But Kyle Pitts had 47 receptions for over 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. For most tight ends, that's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. Now for Kyle Pitts, it's not because where he got drafted at and what was expectations was way up here, right? He was a unicorn. He was the highest drafted tight end in league history, right? So he's not living up to that. I'm not trying to sit here to try to sugarcoat and thinking that I'm saying Kyle Pitts is living up to that. But he did not have a bad season, right? Especially when you're like the fourth option, you know, on the team pretty much, right? Because we know Mooney, think about it. Drake London had over 1,000 yards. Darnell Mooney would have had 1,000 yards he played the last game of the season, right? Bijan Robinson had almost 1,700 all-purpose yards, right? Because he caught the ball as well. Ray McLeod had a career year, right? Kyle Pitts, yes, his numbers are low, right? But Kyle Pitts, like I said, in some cases, he the third or fourth option, you know, to the quarterbacks. So his value, what we took him as, is where the discrepancy is. That's the discrepancy. So if we're looking at, we want to see the unicorn, we want to see Kyle Pitts be featured. That's is where we having issues with Kyle Pitts. That's where it starts right there because we want to see number four overall pick. We want to see him dominating. But looking at this offense, when they go a lot of 11 personnel, um, they have the other tight end on the field because they want to be able to still run out 11 personnel. He's a better blocker than Kyle Pitts, right? So he's losing the value on the Atlanta Falcons team. That's where it is. That's where the problem lies. So if the Atlanta Falcons going to keep Kyle Pitts, and it sounds like they are, right? They want Kyle Pitts to be the best version of himself. That means they have to feature Kyle Pitts. I just really believe that they're not featuring Kyle Pitts. Yes, there's some plays that he loaf, some plays that he's not, being 100% on every play. Yes, so he needs to work on that. I agree with Terry Fontano when he mentioned that he needs to work on that. But if you're going to get a number 4 overall pick, and I think you got to feature him, right? Number 4 overall pick, maybe he should be the second option instead of the third or fourth option, right? You got Drake London. Drake London probably be the number 1 option, but maybe Kyle Pitts, right? If you're going to utilize him, his skill set, because I do think he have a skill set that be really successful, right? He showed flashes last year, right? You go back to the Tampa game, the 2 touchdowns he had, running those seam routes. He seemed like he was really, really good at doing that. So I believe that they could utilize Kyle Pitts. It's kind of hard for me to see his division in his offense because of what Drake London and Darnell Mooney was able to bring to the table, but they have to start to utilize call plays for Kyle Pitts, and I think you do that, you might get your return on investment that you spent on number 4 overall pick. I don't know if it ever live up to that height, because like I said, this offense just does not fit him. So a lot of weapons on this offense, but 47 receptions, over 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's solid. It's not like he had 300 yards and 1 touch. I feel like Kyle Pitts did not play as well as we wanted him to play, but at the same time, it's not as bad as people try to make it out to be as well. So that's the point I'm making. He could definitely be better. It's definitely some things that people get frustrated about with Kyle Pitts, So I understand that, but he's not being featured in this offense. Go back to his rookie season, right? He was featured. He was the guy. He was the guy. He got a lot of targets. He got probably more target. That's the year Kevin Ridley decided to leave after five games. Kyle Pitts was like the featured guy, along with him and Carter Patterson that first season. So he went over 1,000 yards because he was featured, right? People talk about Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, probably a better tight end than Kyle Pitts, but Brock Bowers was featured a lot. He was the go-to guy. When they wanted to throw the ball to somebody, they threw it to Brock Bowers, right? Kyle Pitts he don't get that kind of treatment in the Atlanta Falcons offense. That's just the reality of it. Is he's the third or fourth option. So maybe he needs to move because of that. But to just say that Kyle Pitts is not living up to the expectations, no, he's not, and I agree with that 100%. But he did not have like such a terrible season like everybody want to just throw him away. He had 47 receptions, over 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's pretty good for a tight end when you like the fourth option on a team. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So if they do decide to keep Kyle Pitts, they got to utilize him the way they want to utilize him. Now he's in his fifth year option. I don't anticipate them get him a contract extension. Maybe they do. I don't anticipate them doing that. But in that instance, then you're losing Kyle Pitts for nothing. So maybe they can get a trade. They can find a good trade partner. I know it's a rumor out there about Kansas City Chiefs, because Travis Kelce was leaving, and Kyle Pitts could just fit right in there with Patrick Mahomes, and then we can just go down the history of Atlanta Falcons giving up potential guys that go out and be Hall of Famers like Brett Favre, like Deion Sanders, right? So I'm not saying he's going to be one of those guys, but if he go team up with Patrick Mahomes, he's going to have a really, really good career. I can promise you that. So because they're going to feature the guy, they're going to utilize because he does have a skill set that is really explosive, So that's the point I'm making about Kyle Pitts. So if they can get a third round pick from the Kansas City Chiefs because he don't fit in this offense, and you can recoup your value there, I say do it because you need to, get more draft capital in this draft anyway. But to say he's not living up to expectations, that's fair. But to say he's not playing well, that's a stretch because I believe he's just not being featured the way he should be featured. Let's see what we got. Some comments here. Philip says, I want Pitts to stay. Penix will unlock him. Yes, I agree. I think Penix will look for him and on some plays as well. I do agree with you on that. Phil Robinson, MPG is going to Pitts in the Commander game. His clutch was defining moment for both. I agree with that. That was an outstanding play, and that shows you, in my opinion, that shows the potential that those two could have together, right? But then you go back to the next game, right? He didn't feature Kyle Pitts at all. So, and I believe that it's up to the offensive coordinator. I think it's up to him. It's up to Robinson to actually start to call plays for Kyle Pitts. I just really believe that, right? Sometimes guys could be first in progression, right? Looking at a play, right? We remember 2015 when Kyle Shanahan first got here, and every play Julio was number one in progression, right? We know that. Roddy White talked about it, right? He was getting frozen out because Julio, he was calling all plays with Julio, and he was freezing him out, right? So what I'm saying is, for Zach Robinson, what he could do, some plays, this is a Kyle Pitts play, right? He's the first one in progression. If you get in line, if you get in formation, they're in this form. They lined up defenses in this formation. Hey, Kyle Pitts gonna be your first read on this play, right? You start to feature him, and if you start to do that, I think he can live up to some potential. No, he's not going to get to the unicorn things like that. I think that was just too high of expectation for all of us. For the Atlanta Falcons drafting him that high, I think they might have made a mistake, right? Because who went out right after that? Chase. Chase went right after that. Guy just won the triple crown, right? So maybe the Atlanta Falcons did made a mistake, but hindsight 2020, you can't go backwards, right? So start to feature Kyle Pitts. So I agree with you. I think they can really do something special. Terry T says Pitts need to work out more. I think he's out of shape at the beginning of the season. Hopefully Penix is able to get with those guys and they can develop more chemistry, right? That's what we hope to see. We'll definitely probably hear about some of that. But he's 100% healthy now, Kyle Pitts. I think he wants to be great, but like I said, maybe this is not the team for him. We just have to see. But I believe if they start to feature him more, I think he could be more dynamic. And it could be sometimes, when you're game planning, when you're game planning for teams, they might be weak, in coverage against tight ends. That could be a Kyle Pitts game, right? That's one thing I admire by Bill Belichick, because sometimes he had different game plans. Him and Tom Brady, where they knew what this team was weak in and they exploited it, right? I mean, if we go back a couple of years now, we played the Buffalo Bills. They ran the ball like the whole game because they figured they can run on the guys. And I mean, they passed like 2 or 3 times that entire game, right? And they exploited something that they seen from the Buffalo Bills that week. And Zach Robinson can do the same thing. This team right here is really vulnerable checking tight ends. So we know what we're gonna do. We're gonna utilize. It's gonna be a Kyle Pitts week, right? That's what I mean. Something like that, guys. And I think Kyle Pitts could actually live up some of that potential that we just been missing for the last couple of years. But to have 47 receptions, 4 touchdowns, over 600 yards, it's not a great season, but it's not bad as well. So that's what I'm saying. Another comment here. Did you Mike Penn at the combine last year? He was amazing. Can jump, run, throw like he was a machine. Yes. And see, a lot of people don't remember because Michael Penix Jr. was in the college so long, right? Because of the injuries. But he changed his whole game, right? He is an athlete. That's the thing about Michael Penix, what people don't realize, right? He was the running quarterback before, right? That's why he looks up to a guy like Michael Vick, because he was a running quarterback. He changed his entire game. His last couple seasons at the University of Washington, he changed it. So he does have the ability to be athletic. We don't want him to, because we don't want him to get injured anymore. Continue to stay in the pocket, move around when you have to, but we don't want to see you be Lamar Jackson. We don't want to see you to be Josh Allen. We don't want to see none of that, right? Be who you are, the way you develop your game. When you was throwing the ball and led the league, college football 2 years in a row in passing yards. That's the Michael Penix we want to see now. But he is an athlete. I agree with you 100%. He's really, really athletic. Then the guy ran like a 4.4, so he's really athletic. But we want to see him stay in that pocket and do what he do, and that's throw that ball. But he does have the athletic ability if he needs to. So great point about that. But guys, that's why I stand with Kyle Pitts. And it does sound like the Atlanta Falcons keeping them, but in the combine, this is the time where we have smoke screens, right? So everything I just said about Kirk Cousins, everything I said about Kyle Pitts, all right, don't be surprised if before the new league year they cut Kirk Cousins because they were just bluffing to see if a team was going to bite on it, and then they trade Kyle Pitts, and then go back to my video here, and I'm like, they're going to keep both of those guys. So right now it does sound like they're going to keep them. That's what they're leaning towards. But at the same time, you know, these guys going to keep everything close to the vest. They're not giving any clues. They're not going to let us know what's going to really happen. Just like had no clue about Michael Penix Jr. being drafted last year. That's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be. It's going to be like the Anthony Davis Luka Doncic trade. It's the same way. It's going to catch everybody off guard. So um, that's how we got to look at it. This is the time where teams, the coaches and general managers, they don't tell you what they're really thinking because they don't want to tip their hand. Either way. All right. The next topic I want to talk about is we got a report that the Atlanta Falcons only brought out their defensive staff to the combine. That's it. Just their defensive staff, which means that they're only doing interviews. They get to interview 45 players at the combine, and they're interviewing all defensive players, right? So, we all was really, really disappointed in the way our defense played the last two games of the season. That Commanders game was just bad, right? We had the ball one time in the third quarter in that Commanders game. We let Bryce Young look like the Heisman Trophy winner at Alabama. That's what he looked like that last game of the season, right? It's the most points he put up all season. He put up on us, and we didn't know we was going to be out playoffs. We was playing for a playoff spot, and we still played like that defense. So the Atlanta Falcons went all in. Seems like they're going all in on the defensive side of the ball. If you guys looked at my mock draft that I recently did, I didn't do that. I actually picked two offensive guys, to go along with that because I think you're going to supplement some of your stuff, in free agency. That's the reason why I kind of figured that, they're not going to go all defensive. But this kind of tells a different story. Now, this does not mean they're going to go all defense, but at the combine specifically, they're focusing on just defensive players. Now, I mentioned on a couple of my last pods that this is a deep defensive trenches class, right? Defensive tackles, pass rushers. It's really deep, right? So from 20 to 60, right? There's not a lot of top high guys. There's only a few of those guys up there. But then if you get to guys that's in that high teen to 60 range, right? Got great grades, first round grades, which is going to be a lot. So Atlanta Falcons do have an opportunity to get some guys that can really contribute to the Atlanta Falcons this year, right? And in the future. So the idea that they're going all in from a defensive standpoint, I think for a Falcons fan, I think we love it. We kind of love it. It kind of feel like the offensive side, I think they found their quarterback. We go back to last year during this time in the combine, and it was all about the quarterback, right? Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot, we need to find our quarterback. We need to find a quarterback. They did that exponentially, right? They got Kirk Cousins. They got Michael Penix Jr. They went all out, and they went and found their quarterback. This year, it's about defense, right? Raheem Morris specifically mentioned pass rushers, right? He wanted to be able to get after the quarterback. It's not just edge rushers to get after the quarterback. It's about interior guys as well. Now, what does this mean for Grady Jarrett, David Mayada? They're going all in, going young, right? So that tells you a lot. The question was asked, was Grady untouchable? And the answer was no, right? You got to look out what's best for the Atlanta Falcons. That's what was mentioned. That was asked that question. So going all in on the defensive side of the ball, I think it's really tells you a lot about where they see their team. Right? Last year, they felt they was a quarterback away, right? But this year, I believe the Atlanta Falcons, they had to have some truth serum tell to them, and they realized their defense is not up to par to where it needs to be, right? Yesterday, I came in here, I talked about the biggest issue with the Atlanta Falcons to me was the pass rush, and I feel like I was Nostradamus because it seems like they feel the same way. It's about the defensive side of the ball, being able to affect the quarterback. This is a quarterback driven league. If you got to be able to affect the quarterback, and I believe just looking at what the Atlanta Falcons, you know, what they're showing right now, right? This does not mean they're going to go all defense, right? But the idea that they're going to only bring their defensive staff to the combine, all the players they're going to talk to is going to be on the defense side of the ball, is a telltale that they are determined to fix this defense this year. And it means that they looked really hard for what they thought they had last season, because we all believed last season that we kind of was on the same page with Raheem. They're just a quarterback away, right? But towards the end of the season, the defense started to tell a different story, right? And it started to falter. Now, the pass rush picked up towards the end of the season. We can't say that, right? That's how you go from 9 sacks to 31 sacks in like 5 games. It was amazing just the transformation, how they was able to do that, right? Start to create that much pressure, right? We started to see guys start to flash, but it was a little too late. So to me, this is going all in. This is a statement that I like to see, right? They talked about that they was not going to say a lot. They was going to show their actions, and their actions about bringing only defensive staff to the combine lets you know that our defense will be fixed this year. That's their plan, and you gotta like that. You just gotta like that. Um, and I think they can get some quality players out of this draft. Get some quality players out of this draft, and I think this right here give you kind of mindset of what they're thinking about when it comes to the roster. Let's get into some of these questions here. He says, "What trade want Kurt? What team want Kurt?" Exactly. I don't know. I guarantee you, if he get released, the team will pick him up. I guarantee you, if he get released, the team will pick him up. I think it's going to be Green or Walker. You might be right, and that's cool. I like both of those guys, but they got the they need to double up. So they need to double up. Who wants Kirk Cousins? Nobody. Well, that's why for me, I agree with you. Who want Kirk Cousins? But see, that's why I would let him go out and try to find somebody. Right. That's what he needs. That's what he needs to do. Terry said interviewed today, interviewed several Georgia players last night, and they said they want to get bigger in both fronts. That's right. It's all about the trenches, man. It's always been about the trenches, guys. I don't know why people don't see that, but it's always been our trenches. It starts with stopping the run and running the ball, and then getting after the passer. Those three things. If your team can do that, you can win the Super Bowl. If you can get after the passer, you can stop the run, and you can run the ball, you can win the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles just showed it. They just showed it. And that's what it takes. We said that yesterday, Ricondo, about getting younger and bigger. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But guys, I definitely really want to know what you guys think about, you know, going all in on the defensive side of the ball, bringing in only interviewing defensive players. I can tell you this, is some good offensive players out there too. So they're going to overlook some good players, man. And this is strange to me because when, I talked about their philosophy when they go best player available. When you looking at your board, are you saying that it's some offensive players that's not better than some defensive players on your board? So that's interesting to me. So I believe that they're kind of going against their philosophy when you're only going to interview defensive players, because it's definitely some offensive players that's better than some of the defensive players. And if you stack the board like you should stack the board, um, you're not taking best player available. Just saying. So that is a way to look at it. That's why this is it's interesting that you're only looking at the defensive players. And this just said the combine doesn't mean they're not going to have guys on the 30 visits and things like that. So don't get it twisted that they're just going to look at defense. You know, I'm pretty sure they're going to look at the offensive guys too, but to the combine, they only brought the defensive guys. So that is something to be interested in. 330 said how many teams need quarterbacks versus the number of quarterbacks going high in the draft. That's the point. That's the point, right? So, right now, and it's going to change. It's early. It's February, so April, it's a couple of months away. So some of those quarterbacks in the draft is going to rise up the boards because they always do. It's just the way it happens. But right now, there's only 2 quarterback projected to go early, right? But if you look at the teams in the top 10, you look at the Titans. Are they really, sold on Will Levis? We know the Panther situation. I mean, not the Panthers, the Brown situation with Deshaun Watson, right? The Giants need a quarterback. You have the Raiders. You have the Jets, right? All those teams cannot get, a rookie quarterback in this draft. Now, there's some quarterbacks on the market, right? You got Russell Wilson's going to be out there. You got Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be out there, who's still thinking about playing, right? People talking about Matthew Stafford might be leaving the Los Angeles Rams. You got Sam Darnold. You got Justin Fields, right? Then you got Kirk Cousins. So somebody's going to be on the outside looking in where all those 6 quarterbacks I'm talking about, because some of these teams are going to take a rookie quarterback, take a chance on it. Now, some of these teams might want to bridge at the same time. So you got to look at it. You got Pete Carroll, in with the Raiders, and they brought in Chip Kelly. Think they're going to probably bring in Marcus Mariota more than likely, right? Because he has some familiarity there. Are they going to bring him as a bridge, or what they're going to do there, right? Maybe they go get Justin Fields, right? Because he fits a Chip Kelly style offense, with his ability to be able to run the ball, right? That's interesting. Sam Darnold want to get paid. So teams out there do a team like the Giants try to go get a veteran like Sam Darnold, right? We don't know the Jets. We know that shit probably sell. Sam Darnold probably don't want to go back to the Jets, right? But do the Jets stick with their quarterback they got in house right now? So we don't know. So great point about how many teams need quarterbacks. I can tell you this: backup quarterback is really important as well. And Atlanta Falcons potentially have the highest paid backup quarterback in NFL history. So we'll see how that pan out with Kirk Cousins. But guys, like I said, for me, the defensive staff is telltale about the Atlanta Falcons thinking this year, and I'm interested to see where this goes, because if they all in on a defense, that means hopefully we finally get a defense that we can all be proud of. And let's talk about the next point that I want to talk about, something that Terry Fontenot mentioned and Raheem Morris mentioned, and that's the development of the current roster. So we talked about going all in on defense, right? But the key to do this, because you have to look at the cap, you got to look at 2026 and 2027 and beyond, right? Because you got young stars on the offensive side of the ball that you got to get contracts to. With salary cap the way it is, you have to make decisions, right? So we talked about it yesterday about the defense getting younger, right? One thing that Terry Fontenot kept mentioning, him and Raheem Morris, was the development of the current roster, right? And decisions they made last year, and Terry Fontenot mentioned this. So going in and getting a Rook, Brandon, and Braylon, we talked about this yesterday. Going to get those young guys, they was already thinking about the future, right? And we just did not. We kind of got blindsided because we wanted to see this team have success in 2024. But the Atlanta Falcons are already looking towards the future more than probably we all want to like, right? Because that's what they did. They went all in for the future based on the draft last year. Think about it. They went heavy on young defensive talent on the front seven, right? With three guys. Um, they went and got a future quarterback. So all the moves they made last year was not even for last year. Now looking back at it, now I think Braden Trice definitely probably could have brought something to the punch last year, but we didn't get to see it, right? Um, Ruka Roro, with his injuries and being at this a couple of games, did not get a lot, of playing time, so we did not get to see it. Brandon Dorless started playing towards the end of the season, so those guys, all the picks, it's crazy now. You sit back and think about it. The picks that Atlanta Falcons made last year was was like for this year because they was thinking forward, right? They brought in Matthew Judon. They brought in a Justin Simmons because they was trying to see what they could do in 2024. But that draft last year, now hindsight 2020, looking at it, it was for 2025. Because now you got to develop these young guys because they're going to be the guys that's going to take you towards the future, right? They're your investment you made last season. Now these guys, you got to put them on a great development plan to see can they contribute now in 2025 because of some of the decisions that the Atlanta Falcons might have to make this year. They're going to have to start to play bigger roles. And I mean, decisions with Grady Jarrett, decisions with David Mayada, not bringing the Matthew Judon back, right? Not bringing the Lorenzo Carter back. All those veterans that we had on the team last year, could potentially not be back on this roster, and Atlanta Falcons could go ultra young, and some of these guys got to step up and start to take the round. I know that sounds scary for a lot of Atlanta Falcons fans. It's like, man, we're gonna be young as hell on the defensive side of the ball, but these guys, they got to start to live up to to some of this. Somebody got to take the torch, man. And that's what it boils down to. Rook, right? He was picked the second round. Hopefully, let's see what he can do with a off season to get himself right. Not worrying about the combines. Come out, get a good program. See, can he really be good? He had flashes last year. We seen it, right? We seen flashes from Zach Harrison, who's going to be here. Armor Ebiketie going into a contract year. This is a huge year for him. Brandon Dorless, can we get him on the field? We didn't even get a chance to see what Brandon Trice was all about. So these are the things I'm talking about when we talk about development of the current roster. They mention this a lot. So those young guys that's on the roster already, the investment they made in 2024, that's going to be crucial to how Atlanta Falcons play in 2025, and add this current crop of rookies coming from the 2025 draft to the front seven is going to be crucial, right? They need to make some good picks, somebody that you want to think that can contribute this year, right? Now they still going to go in free agency, and I can see them going to free agency in some of the needs, because you're looking at the needs. We still need a pass rusher, right? Are they going to do that in free agency? We don't know, right? We need a slot corner, I believe. Are they going to do that in free agency? Don't know. They need a number 2 cornerback. Are they going to do that in free agency, right? So those are some of the things they could look at. Do we need another inside linebacker? Maybe. I think we might, right? We got to see a lot from JT Bertrand. Nate Landman is a restricted free agent, so can they bring him back on a friendly deal? We'll have to see. You like what you've seen from Kay Nellis. Troy Anderson just can't stay healthy, so maybe they have to go get an inside linebacker as well. But they're going to get some guys, in free agency to fill some of those needs. So when the draft come in, now you're bringing in more guys to the front seven, and it's all going to be about development. right? This is where coaches make their goal, right? This is where they see what they all about. Can coaches get these guys to play up to a certain level, certain standard fast, right? The guys that came in last year, we need to see that year one to year two jump. We just do, right? The guys that's coming in this year, we need to see them learn fast, be on an accelerated program to get up to speed, especially if you decide to do away with all your veterans, right? So time will tell what they're gonna do with their veteran guys. Um, I would think that you want to have a little mix of veterans and young guys, but they're gonna have decisions to make, and you want to see guys start to develop and get better. So let's see what we got here. Some comments. Terry T says Kurt has to think about his career has changed. He's a backup quarterback now in his career. Well, he definitely is not getting paid like a backup quarterback. I can tell you that right now. Definitely not getting paid by a backup quarterback. Falcons are not known to develop players, so hopefully we have coaches that change that. You are correct about that, right? But we got new coaches, man. We're going to see. I think Jeff Albert is pretty good. I know he was a good linebackers coach. He had think about Foyer Olakun, guys like that, how he developed him. Foyer was a safety coming out of college, and he got put into a linebacker, and he was probably one of the best linebackers. Led the league in tackles, I think, a couple of times. So, Jeff Albrecht could definitely be that. Um, you know, Kevin Ali coming, Keith Ali coming from the Houston Texans, being on defensive line, maybe he could come bring some development, right? That's why they got rid of the defensive line coach. So you're right. Hopefully, these new staff that they brought in, new guys come in. Raheem Murray said these guys are hungry. They ready to start right now, right? So hopefully that's the case, right? Everybody was disappointed what happened last year. So hopefully we can get some development and we can be great. What's going on, Chris? Man, heard from you in a long time. I see you seen you put out that good content though, man. You and Smitty them. I love it. I love what you guys doing. They were for it this year. Yeah, hey, I'm just being honest, man. If you look at the draft that they did last year, they didn't play a lot of those guys, right? Maybe they was going for it this year. Linebacker Sherwood from the Jets. We get him in free agency. Yes, I seen something out there. It's a couple of guys that Jeff Albrecht maybe could bring from the Jets, right? That would be huge. You get those guys on veteran deals. You know, the Atlanta Falcons have to be strategic this year with their cap situation, right? Now, they could by restructuring and extending guys and stuff, they can create cap space. So it's not a big deal, when you're looking at it that way. But they need to be strategic this year, how they go out building this roster out. So you're right. I can see some of the guys coming over from the Jets, potential free agents. So that's going to be huge. That's definitely going to be huge for the Atlanta Falcons. But guys, honestly, for me, you know, the overall what I took from today's conversation with Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris is that it's about business. It's about business and about business to the Kirk Cousins situations, to the Kyle Pitts situation, to trying to improve this team. Um, you know, it does not go without saying that Terry Fontenot he has to be, his seat has to be getting kind of warm here, right? Um, about 4 consecutive seasons, losing seasons, his seat has to start to get warm. And Raheem Morris, I don't know how long his leash got, but he can't be, feeling warm and fuzzy like he got time to build this team, like a couple of years and things like that, right? You listen to them. they don't want to sound too optimistic because I think they got food goals last year. That's pretty much what happened. I think we all did. This team was not good as we thought it was, and that's just where it really boils down to. If you look at it, um, we was lacking in areas, right? I think they got to make upgrade at their slot corner position. I think they do. They need to figure out another safety position. They got the young DeMarco Hellams coming back. Maybe he was showing potential the season before, so maybe he comes back. Um, but we have to fix the pass rush. I still believe our biggest issue is the pass rush. I talked about that yesterday. I went through the history of Atlanta Falcons. Maybe this is the year they're going to be able to get it fixed. So that's going to be interesting. But guys, I think it was interesting to hear from those guys today. Um, I definitely want to hear. If you haven't heard, go to AtlantaFalcon.com. You'll get to see all those videos out there. Um, Please provide your comments and your takes, what you took from it, what you got from those guys. Um, do you think Kurt's going to be here for the long run? Kyle Pitts, are they going to go ahead and keep that $10 million on the book and start to figure out that we got to feature him more, or he's going to continue to be the disappointment because he was the number 4 overall pick, in the draft. So those are the things that Atlanta Falcons got to consider. Once again, they got to determine what they're going to do with some of their veteran guys um, because of the cap situation. I think if we had good healthy cap, those guys wouldn't be considered right now. I think they'll let them ride out their contracts. But the fact that we are in this situation with the cap situation, and you have young talent that we need to develop. The Atlanta Falcons do have decisions to make, so it's going to be interesting to see, what happens to this team. I would say you have to build a defense up if you want to complement that offense. Um, Potentially really really good offense. They need to do something with the defense. So, guys, that's what I took from today. Definitely want to hear everything you guys got to say about what we heard from Terry Fontenot today, what we heard from Raheem Morris today. Was everything they said smoke and mirrors, smoke screens and things like that, trying to throw everybody off, what we think the Atlanta Falcons going to do? Because guess what? That's what they did last year. They went and picked the quarterback in the first round. So, maybe we just don't know what the Atlanta Falcons are going to do. We just got to wait to see. But it's fun talking about it. Um, as fans, we want to see our team improve this year because we all feel like we had an opportunity to win NFC South last year. I don't feel any difference this year. I think we still have an opportunity to do that, but they do got to fix some holes, to this team and get better. So that's why I am. So I definitely want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about what we heard from Terry Fontenot, general manager of Atlanta Falcons, and the head coach Raheem Morris today. Um, all things Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts, roster, and the last interesting thing, the fact that they brought all defensive staff, no offensive staff, to the combine. Are the Atlanta Falcons changing their drafting philosophy? And there you have it. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.